All right, let's get it started, Rob. The Athletic, as they do every year, this was their 10th installment of their quarterback tiers. And tier 1, obviously unanimous, number 1 was Patrick Mahomes. Also, Joe Burrow was 2nd, Josh Allen 3rd, Aaron Rodgers 4th, and Justin Herbert 5th on tier 1. And then Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Matthew Stafford, Rob, as well as Trevor Lawrence. And Rob G, who am I missing? Trevor Lawrence. There was one more, I believe, or there were a few more on tier 2. Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott. I think those are the tier 2 guys. But Rob, the question I want for you is Aaron Rodgers, and obviously he's an all-time great. And, one of the best to ever sling it. But last year, a down year. And he's turning 40 in December. Everyone in New York City is excited. But do you think this ranking is appropriate? He's ranked 4th, but the bottom line is he's still ranked as a tier 1 quarterback. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's just somebody's opinion. So
it was 50, but it's more not just one guy.
But I'm saying it's just it's just opinion. It's not based
and all
right,
that.
But it's just an opinion. So sure, there are people going to still say that, and maybe they look at his thumb injury from a year ago, that maybe he played through it and he didn't come out. So maybe they took that into consideration. Obviously, he had a bad year for Aaron Rodgers, especially with the picks. But I'm saying maybe they're just taking everything into consideration of what happened last year, rookie wide receivers, thumb injury maybe hampered his accuracy some, and they believe that they factor all those things in. I mean, we saw this a year ago with, if I remember correctly, Patrick Mahomes was ranked 5th. Remember that when they came out with the list? He was 5th last year because
Rob G, look that up. I don't know if he was 5th in this one.
He was 5th.
There were various rankings.
Right, but he was 5th in a couple of quarterbacking, and a lot of it had to do with, remember he had the bad stretch where he had the 8 interceptions in 8 straight games or whatever it was. There was something. And his numbers were still good.
But it was lunacy to me. He
was ranked 5th or something. And that's what I'm saying. That's why it's just a projection, and I get it. People are looking at the other quarterbacks, and maybe they just think they're giving him a benefit of the doubt that he has to have 2 bad years. The last time I think people wrote him off was after the Bucky Brooks. He should go to Chicago and his career was over or whatever it was, and then he won 2 MVPs. I'm not saying he's going to win 2 MVPs, but that came after a down year. So maybe they believe that there was more to it than just age and that he was injured.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate. And 2 months ago, Rob, I wouldn't have said that. You know, we talked about it on the show. I did not think that Aaron Rodgers would bounce back from this, meaning last year. I thought last year was not like 2017, 2018, when he had a down year for him at least, and 2017 he had a little bit of an injury. But I thought he was just getting old. Everybody's not going to be Tom Brady and be great in their 40s. And I've changed my tune. Now, I may be wrong, but I do expect Aaron Rodgers to have a bounce-back elite year, not an MVP year. I'd be very surprised if he did that. But I'm expecting him to have a very good season. I don't know that he's got 2 left in him, but I do think he's got 1 left in him at least. And I say it for a few reasons. Like you said, I do think the thumb was a factor, the broken thumb on his throwing hand. I don't think he was engaged like he is in New York. You know, he didn't go to off-season workouts and therefore didn't develop the chemistry with his younger receivers. And so I just don't think, I don't think he went out thinking, you know, I'm not going to play well or anything like that. But I just don't think he was as driven. He had lost his, you know, a guy he says it might be his favorite coach of all time, Nat Hackett, who we get it wasn't a good head coach, wasn't even a serviceable head coach last year for Denver. But that doesn't mean he wasn't a great offensive coordinator. We've seen a lot of coordinators who were great who didn't make the transition well. And Nat Hackett has been a very good offensive coordinator, at least with Aaron Rodgers, who he won 2 MVPs with. And so with Hackett in New York, with a very good receiving core, Garrett Wilson leads the way. He was freaking great last year as a rookie with Mike White and Zach Wilson throwing him the rock. I can't imagine how good he's going to be with Aaron Rodgers. They got some other guys, McCole Hardman, Alan Lazard came over from Green Bay. They got a running game, and we'll see if they add Dalvin Cook, but they got Breece Hall back from injury. Defense top of the line. And most importantly, Rob, for Rodgers, he is all in. We saw him give up the money. We don't understand it necessarily, but he still gave up $35 million. It seems like, was there in the offseason. He was throwing with his receivers. He's been great so far. So I just think that, Rob, he's been at his best these last 2 MVP years. A lot of people were down on him. Like you said, they thought he was done a few years ago, kind of had some injuries and wasn't as good. And he came back and won 2 straight MVPs. So I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. And so I'm fine with him being on that tier 1. Might be his last year on it. He might not live up to it. But right now, I'm expecting big things from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, if he was fully healthy last year and put those numbers up, again, I think that would be a different look. But
Agreed.
He just was uncharacteristically, with the interceptions. Chris, forget about the other numbers. Like he threw 12 interceptions.
He threw 12, and
Chris,
to put that in perspective,
he hadn't thrown 12 in the previous 4 years.
Right, he threw 13 his first year as a starter in 2008, and that was it.
Right.
He threw 11 one year, 2010. But other than that, he's never thrown
double digits. Right.
Yeah, it was only double digits.
What do you have the year before? What do you have the 2 years before? I'm just saying. What were the 4
Let's
and 8?
put it this way. He had more interceptions last year. Well, almost more.
Right.
So he had 4 the year before, 5 the year before that. Those were his 2 MVP years. 4 the year before that, 2 the year before that.
That's what I'm saying.
Granted,
right,
that was only 7 games, but still.
Think about that.
He doesn't throw interceptions.
Right.
And, Rob, to put that in perspective, now 12, we're going by his standards. Josh Allen threw 14 last year in fewer games, 16 games.
But that's different.
Joe Burrow threw 12 in 16 games.
Right, so, but that's
Aaron
normal.
Rodgers did throw for 26 touchdowns.
Right, but that's normal, Chris, because you throw the ball a lot more this year, now. So it's like the point guard having the most turnovers. You have the ball the most. You know what I mean? Like there's always going to be that chance.
Guys don't turn it over like they used to. We used to see great Hall of Famers sometimes throwing more interceptions than TDs, but that's when you could really hit the quarterback. You could hit the receiver. It was a more physical game then. But that was the most eye-popping thing was the interceptions last year. But I'm gonna chalk it up to the injury and he just wasn't himself last year. But I'm gonna give him one more year where I think he can turn back the clock at least a little bit and be an elite player. But we'll see.